Welcome to the Charron Zone. I am super excited because I have my fellow New Englander in the house here at the Charron Zone. It's Mr. Chris Moreno. How are you, man?
Yes, sir. Doing good, man. Doing
All
good.
right.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So this is take two. We shot this originally a couple of weeks ago, but I have a technical issue that screwed it up. So this is good because this will be even better. So what I wanted to do on here was I want you to give everyone some of your keys to success, things that you've done right, and even some things that you've done wrong, some things that you've had to overcome throughout your music career to get where you are now. But I'd like to first start out telling you have a great story about how you were, you were in a real job and you had a real life. And you were a normie, which is what I call civilians, not people in this crazy music business. And
Absolutely.
how you transitioned from having a real job, a normal job, to becoming a rock star and moving to Nashville and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I grew up in New England. I grew up in Northborough, Massachusetts. And I started playing guitar at like 10, 12 years old. And I was always super into music. And I was really into rock music. I did the rock thing for a while. I would play in bands as a kid in high school and into college and stuff like that. And I was always like the guitarist, songwriter. I was a singer for a little bit, but mostly a guitarist and a songwriter. And so I did that, and it was fun. It was my main hobby and passion throughout my teens, like I said. And then I played in a band in college for a little bit. But about halfway through that, I went away to UMass Amherst. And it's the first time going away to school, and I was getting a little bit burnt out of just doing kind of the rock band thing. And so we kind of disbanded, and from there I just literally stopped doing music. I stopped doing, I'd pick up a guitar once in a while, but basically I did a couple years of college, and then right after that, I got a full-time sales job. So working the sales job, doing the 9-to-5 thing, making money, had a girlfriend, so partying on the weekends. I pretty much stopped doing music for 5 years, something like that. And then, life was good, but at a certain point I was like, man, something's missing. Like, I just started like getting into my like mid 20s and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, is this kind of all there is to life? Is it, so, long story short, I went through a breakup and really started questioning, oh man, what do I want to do with my life? That kind of thing. And I realized like, oh yeah, you just kind of quit music. Like why, I think at a certain point I was just like, you know what, let's see if you can make that dream a reality. So I didn't like put any big expectations on myself. I was just like, you know what, let's go take some voice lessons. Let's go start writing songs again. So it just kind of happened organically. And I was doing my day job on the side. And things really just slowly progressed over the course of, I think 4 years in Boston, just from like starting to write songs. And then my friends are like, wait, you write songs? Like half my newer friends didn't even know I did music ever as a kid. And slowly transitioned to starting to play gigs and full band gigs with like, original music, but also like, very well, the 3-hour bar gig.
Oh, yes.
Which, you go and you learn a bunch of covers and you get your chops up, and that's what I did, man. I did that for, like I said, about 4 years, and then quit my day job and moved to Nashville about 2 years ago. So, and we can get into obviously some of that stuff, but that's the trajectory that took place for me.
Wow, that's a huge transition and jump. So, did you when you were in high school and stuff, were you guys playing shows?
We were, yeah. We would play like local clubs, rock clubs, all around New England, New Hampshire, stuff like that.
Cool.
And I was in a couple different bands, and we were good, man. We were doing like the kind of like not hardcore thing, but just it was a rock thing. But I guess I just didn't see it going anywhere. I didn't know how to get to that next level, and I just kind of got frustrated with it, and we broke up. So
yeah, we had talked about this before. We have very similar, extremely similar paths. I grew up in Rhode Island. I was in rock bands, got progressively kind of heavier rock as it went along. And then when I got out of high school, we played shows in high school. I was in a couple of bands after high school, and then it just started to fizzle. And I was, I stopped being really into the scene, that kind of scene. And, and completely stopped for a few years too. So, but that's where you must have gotten the performance itch.
Yeah, I have to say, and I don't know if you feel that way, but like, even this quarantine, for example, I've been I'm still releasing music and I'm making the most of it. But I think part of this drive that I have now is because I had the 9-to-5 job, which is fine. Like I said, I was pretty happy during it, but I had sort of like kind of given up on music in my mind. And so now to have the opportunity where I'm actually making a full-time living doing music, like every day is just, it's just more exciting. I'm just very grateful. And so, I think having the experience of that side of life to then going back and chasing the dream, a little bit later on in life, I just have appreciation and a gratitude that I don't know that I would have ever had without that experience. You know what I mean? Of doing something that I didn't love versus doing something I do love.
Absolutely. I always tell people too, it also instills a great work ethic. And if you can, when I first moved to Nashville and I used to listen to podcasts, CD Baby's podcast was kind of the only one that I knew of. And I just inundated myself with CD Baby's podcasts.
Same.
Yeah. And I remember being in this little tiny apartment that we called the Nacho in Nashville, right near Vanderbilt. And it was pretty bad times. It was very desperate times. I had no money. I had a job and I was a personal trainer in Miami. And then I was in real estate and I was doing really well. And then the crash happened. I lost all my money, moved to Nashville to be a professional musician, which was really tough. But I remember that I figured out, I thought, okay, well, I'm used to working really hard, basically for somebody else. Most people are used to working 8 hours a day for somebody else. And I thought, if I could just take 1 hour a day and work as hard as I do during that 1 hour for other people, for my own music business and my dream that I've had since I was a kid, then I would be ahead of the game. So I think that's a long way of saying it. I think it's great to have your real job and then start to dip your toe into it.
I definitely want to follow up on that because it's so true. I mean, if I had moved to Nashville a year after starting to do music, it just would have been a failure. I mean, the talent is so great around here. You really do. I think you want to start building up a lot of momentum in your hometown, your home state.
Totally.
I think you want to prove to yourself that you can do that and that people can really take an interest in you locally and then kind of build on that from there because it's building confidence, and it's, for me, I'm someone that my confidence comes from actually like building skills and experience. You know what I mean? I'm not this fake it till you make it guy. I'm just, you know what I mean? And so, I think that's a huge thing. And, I had the sales experience I can look at music like a business too. I'm able to do that because of working the job and the work ethic that you're talking about. And so that actually puts me ahead of the game because, it's hard sometimes for musicians, and I understand it, to look at it as a business and how am I going to market myself and who's my target demographic and stuff like that. But those things really do make a difference. You can put out the best music in the world, but if you don't know how to get in front of people, you're going to have a tough time, I think.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, you have to be, you just have to. You have to be business minded. You have to be as much of a business person as you possibly can because the competition is too great. There's 5 billion other people trying to do exactly what we're trying to do. Yep. And it's just the law of the land. I mean, you can't deny it that the people that have talent and have great music and also have a work ethic and a business sense are just going to go further than people that just have talent and great music.
Yes, 100%, because it's to be a musician who's going to end up being well known, or at least someone who's like going to be able to tour and build a fan base. I don't know how many things that there are, but there's like at least 5 to 8 things that go into making you marketable and making you someone that people want to watch and stuff like that. And being a great singer is one aspect of that. So in other words, if you have that, that's great. But there are people who make it that aren't even great singers, but they have all these other things.
Yep.
Now, and you just got to figure out how to get as many of those things. You know, it's being personable, being, you know, charismatic, writing great songs. These are all little pieces, and you have to have, you have to be able to build all those together.
Right.
Some people think, and again, Nashville's a really good, place to see. Man, there's some amazing singers. There's some singers that I'll never be as good as them, but like, that's one piece of that puzzle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't rely just on that. Look at The Voice. Look at everybody who gets on that show but doesn't end up necessarily making a career after that.
Right. If the best musicians, the most skilled and talented musicians, were the ones who made it big, we could just line up, outside of Berklee School of Music.
Right. Exactly. So
and
true.
There you go. But
Yep.
what they don't teach in school is how to make money with your music, how to build a fan base, how to basically build a real career. You know, they can teach you how to read music and stuff like that. But yeah, and especially just in this day and age, it's like everybody, not even musicians, but everybody has to be more of an entrepreneur these days. And at the same time, we have these amazing tools that allow us to be entrepreneurs. So,
and most of them are free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I know everyone complains about social media, and I get it, man. It can be a lot if you let it kind of overwhelm you, but those are tools that we didn't have 15 years ago.
Oh man.
Even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, I was on a Zoom call today about, it was all about Instagram and how to build your Instagram. And I was telling them, like, my whole career is built on social media. Right. I can't imagine trying to do this without social media. I mean, we would be printing up flyers and putting them on walls or on poles?
I mean, honestly, I can't remember exactly how I started listening to you. And like I've mentioned before, I've enjoyed your podcast for at least 2 years now. When I moved to Nashville, I remember starting to listen to it. But I think you even popped up on my radar because of some like Facebook advertisements and then there was one, actually, Corey Paza is someone that I had worked with in the past. And I just remember some video popped up and you were there and he was playing bass for you. And I was like, oh man, that's good. And but you lived in New England and it took me a while to even know who you were. And it's just like you were utilizing these tools and reaching out to people that might be interested. And that's how I found your podcast. You know what I mean? So it's a great example of that. You have to actively go after the people that are going to be interested. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And, I've kind of built everything on this concept that, okay, for me, I built it like, okay, if I can book gigs and play shows, that's my foundation. That's my bread and butter. That's where everything's going to come out of. I remember years ago, Michael Jordan used to say that all of his businesses and all of his endorsements and Nike and all of those things, he used to say, that he knew that if he focused on playing basketball, then all those things would come and all the obvious, I mean, it might not be obvious to people, but you have to have the one main thing that's driving everything else. And for me, I always thought, it all came from gigs. It all came from playing shows, because then you're going to make fans you can make fans online, but it's nothing compared to if you make that fan online and then they come see you at a show and you talk to them for 5 minutes after the show or before the show or whatever, and vice versa. If you make a new fan at a gig and then you keep in contact with them online through social media, I mean, it all ties together, but it all has to be driven from that one thing. And for me, it's always been like okay, if I can really hammer being great at booking gigs and being as great as I can at performing, of course,
Right.
Then all these things, I can use all these things and it's going to work. It works,
Yeah,
and social media is such a beautiful, amazing part of that.
Yeah, and that's been the foundation for me too. It's kind of that realization that there's always going to be a demand for live music, and really your worth in this industry in a lot of aspects is how many tickets you can sell, or just how many people you can bring out.
Totally.
And so it's really been the focus for me as well. I played 20 different states last year, and overall I'm a bigger advocate for maybe just trying to take over certain states, is like start small,
Yep.
build a fan base in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's what I've been trying to do because, again, that's your value to these clubs and stuff like that. And understandably, can you draw people in? And if you can do that, you're going to have success if you can get people that are excited to come out. And then, like you said, nurture those relationships, get to know these fans, and get them on for the journey. That's they want to see you succeed too. If you're a likable person and you take the time to get to know them, they're going to take pride in like being early in your career.
Totally.
And I think I see a lot of musicians, they're maybe not putting as much focus as they could on building a fan base because they think that I'm just waiting out for a record deal. But that does happen, but record deals are less and less, they want to hop on a moving train. They want to see that you're already doing all the legwork.
Yeah, there's no development anymore. Nobody's going to develop you. You have to develop yourself.
100%, and that's why I did 300 gigs the past 2 years. I played these I played a lot of bar gigs where no one gave a shit that I was there. No one cared.
Yep.
But I did that because I was like, I'm putting myself through a boot camp. I'm going to see how strong of a performer I can be. Can I capture a room that doesn't care about me, that has no idea who I am?
All right, I love this so much. I want to stop you just for a second because I want everybody listening and watching. Like these are I'm taking mental notes right now and physical notes. These are the keys to success right here. This is a great key. So I viewed it very much the same way. You're putting yourself through a boot camp. Like you're putting yourself into I think we talked about this last time, but I see the bars and restaurants as like the minor league baseball, the farm, what do they call it? The farm teams.
Yeah.
For baseball. Like
100%.
Man, you can go down the street and exactly what I did. You did the same thing. You toured all over the country playing, bars and restaurants. I'm just going to chime in because I know you did the same thing. I moved to Nashville. And I was lucky to have someone who helped me book shows. And then obviously, like we talked about before, I had to start doing it on my own. But, in my mind, I'm like, I'm driving down to Florida to play 3 gigs in a row for people that have no idea. So I'm basically just background music. Mm-hmm. And it's like going through your mind, you're driving solo and you're like, man, am I crazy for doing this? But it's putting yourself in uncomfortable positions to see if you can rise above it. You play for 4 hours in a room that doesn't care. And you're naked. It's just you and an acoustic guitar. But can you make people care? And that's a challenge. Absolutely. And what I always thought, I know we talked about this before, was if you're playing 300 shows in 2 years, right? If your goal is to get at least one person to be a fan of yours from each one of those shows, and that person meets you, and this is the magic and the power of being really focused on that one thing, right? So this is the way I approached it. If I play a couple hundred shows in 2 years or whatever, and I get one person to be interested in my music, and they follow me on social media, then as I grow, those people are going to be like, oh, wow, look what he's doing now. Oh, they're going to be your cheerleaders. They're going to be, and this is another thing that I don't know if I've gone over this on the podcast or the ones that you've heard, but when you get into asking your fans to do stuff for you, like contact a venue, a big venue that you want to play, or a festival or a fair or something, that gets into like really powerful stuff, because number one, your music fans are not in the music business, but they look up to the entertainment business and the music business, and it gives them a little piece of ownership, that they're able to, by their calls and emails and stuff and their postings, to literally get you a show that they can then go to and be like, at a big show and be like, I helped him get this.
And and that concept is so real too, because it's, I've done a lot of live streaming lately, and it's helped me kind of get closer and get to know my fan base a little bit better. But it really is a rise with them, because they give you motivation when you don't really have it. I'm sure you've been there when, man, there's times when you actually do think about quitting, and like it's people like that are genuinely loving your music, that I don't care how small it is, man. Just even a few people that are like genuinely touched by my music, that's enough to keep me going, man.
Absolutely.
And so, to see them at shows and to have them want to work on your behalf is just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I literally just in the past few months, I quit music. I quit everything because I was so sick. We talked about this too.
Yeah.
I was so sick in the past few months in the middle of this pandemic that I could barely get out of bed for a couple months. So I just kind of quit everything. But, it was amazing. Like, to have people that are genuinely concerned about you, through your music, because of your music. I had a lot of people in the music business that I look up to, reach out to me. So like, yeah, man, it's kind of incredible that you can have this as your business, but it's also like, it is literally you, it's you, it's your music. And so it's very personal and gratifying when people,
for sure,
kind of keep you going.
It really is. And for me, there's been a little bit of, they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. That kind of like idea that if you're not in the long haul, there's so much uncertainty that it's kind of, it can eat you alive. So it's one of those things where, like, appreciate every fan that comes on along the way. Appreciate if you can look back at a video from you from 2 years ago and see that you're better. And if your songs keep getting better, man, I'm just a firm believer that if you love the process and you love music enough and you can be in the mindset that I'm in it for a long time, good things will happen to you. At the end of the day, dude, it's, do people care enough about you? And if small amount do, you can grow that. And that is really all there is to the music business, in my opinion. It's, it's creating demand for yourself.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing also that some people gloss over is they want more fans. They always want more fans. I always want more fans,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in having the strongest relationship with the fans that you do have now, because they are going to be, again, they're going to be your evangelists. They're going to go out. They're literally, my fans go out and get me more fans. And what you do a great job of, and I do a great job of, is making sure that you make your fans feel like the most important thing in your music career, because they are, right?
Yes.
So if you have 2 fans, make them feel like the greatest 2 fans in the whole world. If you have 2,000, same thing, because that's what's going to grow it, not going out and trying to get more likes on your page.
I know it took me a little bit I mean, I've always been pretty good at responding to fans and making a note that I'm going to try to respond to every comment and stuff like that. And it's time consuming, but it's certainly worthwhile. But I even just realized it recently, like, because I've had fans come and go. You see fans, they drop off, and you're like, but if you really do try to take the time to get to know them and kind of nurture that and just appreciate them, that's going to go a lot further, because then they are going to tell their friends. And now it's a party, right? They know you. They're going to bring their friends out to the show. That's how it starts. I'm a big believer in quality over quantity, for sure.
Absolutely. One of the best things, I was talking about it on a Facebook Live earlier today. I was out on the boat, and I did a Facebook Live, and I was talking about how one of my favorite things is when fans either meet each other at a show and they become friends, or they know each other from social media, from being a fan, and then they go to a show and they become friends, and then they're like lifelong friends, and it's all because of the music. That's awesome, man. Like, who gets to do that?
And I saw that you have a fan club too, and I recently started one a couple months ago, and it's, to me, the actual coolest thing is seeing them all become friends with each other. And It's like, but I totally get it too. I mean, I used to geek out over my favorite artists, and if I knew somebody else liked them, we have a stronger bond right there, just talking about our favorite artists. So it's like, I get it.
Totally. I still geek out.
Yeah, I just do. Trust me.
Like all these artists, that I love, and I've been talking for the past 2 years about my favorite new rock band, the Struts.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Struts. Everybody listening, watching, Chris, make sure you download some of the Struts stuff. I'm telling you, the best rock band since Guns N' Roses. Absolutely. And I think I like them better, actually.
Yeah.
So I totally geek out over like all their stuff. I go to their shows and stuff, and I'm still a huge fan. So yeah, just look at it as from the fans' perspective, And
exactly.
And the fact that we are in the position where we can, like I said, one of the best things I ever did was somebody else started my fan club on Facebook. And I was really kind of mortified because I was like, nobody's going to join my fan club, But it was the best thing that could have happened, because then I would ask them to. That's how I got a lot of my shows opening for national acts. Was I asked my fan club to, like, hey, we want to do this show opening for Charlie Daniels. Can you guys post on the social media for this venue? And that's how I got a lot of these really great shows.
Dude, it's unreal. And I had the same thing where it's like, you're making yourself vulnerable. So you're like, oh, is anyone going to care?
Yes.
But it's at a certain point, you do want to, cross that threshold. And
yeah, man. I mean, it can be very uncomfortable because, like you said, we all go through. I mean, I'm assuming, because we're all human, we all go through these days where, like, days or weeks where it's like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Or, things like that. My insecurities would pop up, like, when one of my fans started the fan club, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so embarrassing because nobody's going to join.
What if what if no one joins? What if no one cares? What if no one cares? But, that's the nature of being a musician. You're being vulnerable. You're taking chances. And, in the year that I moved to Nashville, that was the hardest year in my life, but it was also one of the best because I just learned so much about myself through kind of throwing myself into the fire there. Man, and it was hard. It was like, there's a lot of nights where I'm just like, man, what am I doing? Because you get a lot of rejection. Like, like we talked about, you could send emails for booking and get lucky if you get one response out of every 20 emails you send.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely a numbers game. I believe that it is a game of who can deal with the most rejection and come out on the other side, because I went years and years and years making so many phone calls, especially when I was trying to go from bars to festivals.
Sure.
And there was this big gap. I didn't have a reputation or a resume saying that I was playing festivals. So it was brutal, 20 no's a day, 5 days a week for months and months and years. So I'm going to ask you two questions. So how do you deal with the rejection, and how do you deal with haters?
Yeah. So the rejection part, I just understand that it's not a reflection on you a lot of the times. These guys, think about these guys' jobs. Like sometimes if you're talking about bars and restaurants, they're the owner of everything. So they're dealing with everything. So you got to first off understand they might not even see your email. And then if they do, they might be too busy to respond to it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's, if someone sees me live and they're like, I don't like him. Okay, that's a different type of rejection. But we're just talking about sending emails. I mean, these guys are busy. They might not even necessarily care who's playing one artist to the other.
They don't. They honestly don't.
You really can't, you don't know how much they even care about the quality of their music. So as sad as that is to say, that's the case at a lot of these places. And at the end of the day, if we're talking about the bigger places that are selling tickets, they don't care about your music either. They care about how many tickets you can sell. So This is very rarely a reflection on you personally. I've found that to be true. And as far as haters with music, honestly, I'd rather have some haters than have people just be like, yeah, it's pretty good. I'm going to move on. Like, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point you want to polarize one way or the other.
I love it, man. Chris, you're speaking my language.
Yeah, bro. And I've almost like a couple like comments here there on YouTube, and I'm like, shit, yeah, okay, I'm doing something right now. Like, you know what I mean? People are finally like, oh, it's getting a response out of people. You know what I mean? So I think depending on what type of music you get, some people are going to get more than others. Mine's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit radio friendly. So I'm not going to be quite as polarizing as like a hip hop artist who's like doing some crazy thing. But no, you'll get your haters. I've got my fair share, and I view it almost as I'm doing something right. If it's real to me and it's getting a reaction, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Do not try to be liked by everyone, because then how are you going to stand out?
Absolutely. Well, number one, how are you going to live? Because, when I was younger, I desperately needed everybody to not just like my music or what I was doing. I just needed everybody to like me in general as a person. And that is a miserable way to live your life, because people just, there's a lot of people that are just not going to like you they'll find a reason. So trying to please everybody and trying to get everybody to like you is the path to misery. Yeah.
Yeah, man. 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
And, I like to take a lot of, whenever there's haters and stuff, I like to use that for ammunition and fuel. I'm always looking for, I'm not so much of a psycho as Michael Jordan was, but right. I'm always looking for slights and motivation, So I try to use just negative things in general as motivation. At the beginning of my career, when I was first starting to play bigger shows, I had a couple band members that totally screwed me over and in a huge, massive way. And I literally would write their names down in my day planner, and that was my motivation to call 20 places that day. And that was always, that's partially how I built up my music business to be playing festivals and bigger shows. Was I took people, I was like, all right, this is the way I'm going to get back at you. I'm going to work way harder than you, and I'm going to have way more success than you. And what I wanted to say earlier, I forgot what we were talking about, but especially with social media, you have to realize that everybody's watching. And so many people are watching that you have no idea that are watching, that you would never believe are watching. So what you're putting out is extremely important.
That's a good point. I wasn't expecting to bring that up, but I have learned that. I would like you to talk for a second about that, because I have learned that, like, you think that it's just the people who like your photos all the time. Those are the only ones who even see it. Yeah. But even though social media's reach is being limited, people are still watching you that you wouldn't necessarily think. And you find it out in weird ways.
Yes.
Like your biggest fan could be someone who never commented or said anything to you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what a crazy way is. that so back before I got sick, right? I was kind of infamous for being on Facebook Live at least twice a day, right? So when I would walk to the gym and I would go on Facebook Live and just give my daily update of what's going on, what shows I'm playing, what shows we just played over the weekend, stuff like that. Just the updates. So now when I would go out in the public, like I would go to networking events, or I would go to play volleyball, or I would go to the hairdresser, kind of like everywhere I would go. And I would go like up to West Palm. I'm in Miami Beach. I would go up to West Palm, go to the, something for the networking event. As soon as I walk in, people are like, oh man, you are killing it on social media. You're all over social media. Yeah. And which is great because, that's it. Regardless of whether they hate it or not, at least you're being noticed. But it was always these people that they are not, like you said, they are not the people that are liking your comments. I mean, your posts or my posts, and they were not liking or commenting or anything. I didn't even know or remember that most of these people were on my social media because they don't interact. Yeah. So I have no idea that these people are watching, but it'll blow your mind if you knew how many people were actually watching your stuff.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And what you just said too about like writing down the people who doubted you or screwed you over and stuff like that. Tom Bilo, who's someone that I follow, he's like a very motivational, successful CEO. He talks about that's like his 20%. So basically he says like, you want the majority, say the 80% of what you're doing to be fueled by this love and desire for what you're doing, right? Mm. But in those dark times when you don't have the current, you don't have the energy anymore to keep going, it's those people who doubted you that that you're going to prove wrong, that you can use for fuel, and how you tap into that sometimes, Obviously, you don't want to walk around every day thinking about negative people, I very rarely do. But there's times when I don't feel great, and I'm like, screw these people. I'm going to keep going just to, like, shove it in their faces.
I call it revenge success.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. And that's just the way, like, some people maybe are built not so much for that, or maybe, they could use it as 20%, which I love that idea. And what was that guy's name? I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, his name is Tom. It's Bileu, I think. Man, yeah, you'll get that guy will motivate the crap out of you. He's the owner of Quest Nutrition.
Oh.
And he has the most motivational people on his podcast and stuff like that. And he's just a real advocate for being obsessed with whatever you're doing. That's his thing. He's like, if you want to stand, you have to be obsessed. And actually that helped me a lot too, because sometimes I would feel like, because music can be a very lonely journey. And totally. You might start thinking, man, like, am I crazy? Like, I'm not seeing my friends as much. Like, is this? But the truth is, man, if you really want to become great at songwriting and singing and all these things, there's just so many hours you have to put in, and you gotta be by yourself. You gotta be by yourself to figure this shit out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as becoming a doctor or a lawyer or whatever.
Yep.
You've got to
put in. It's anything really that requires you to be the great, be at a great level.
And that's another thing that I haven't really talked about much, but I inundate myself and surround myself with motivational things. I'm constantly reading motivational books, constantly listening and watching, and I call it, be careful of, you really want to choose what kind of media you surround yourself with. Is it helping, or is it just garbage? Most news is not really helping news media is not helping your life, but audiobooks, I love real books, videos, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone.
Oh yeah.
Gary V.
Tony Robbins 100%. Gary V's been a really good influence on me for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's I can be a little bit of an overthinker, and that's his whole thing is like just put stuff out, just act, and he's very opposite of like how I'm wired, and it helps pull me in that a little bit closer to that direction. But no, man, what you consume, and that's why, dude, anybody listening to this, if you have to cut people out of your life that don't support what you're doing. You literally just have to, because, at least you have to really distance yourself, because, not only am I listening to those motivational people that keep me in check all day, I've also taken on meditation, journaling, all these things, because if you want to operate at a high level where you can be creative and in the moment all day long in these things that we do as musicians, booking, you need that energy. You need to have a clear head. You need to do all these things. I've probably partied less in the last couple of years since doing full. It's just all these things of getting your head right so that you can maximize every day.
Absolutely, yeah, and everything that little, seemingly little things like this, like constantly seeking out the positive stuff, constantly seeking out. It's like training and working out. We're both into fitness. It's the same exact thing, right? I was a personal trainer for years. I trained Eminem on tour. I trained Michael Stipe from REM, Brandy, a couple other people, Liv Tyler. And when you're into fitness and you're into having a better, healthier lifestyle, you're constantly looking at magazines, watching videos, trying to get all these different techniques and workouts and stuff like that. Right. So you surround yourself with this media that is going to every day add a little bit to what you're trying to do and what you're trying to be really good at. And I look at positive motivational stuff the same exact way. You're going to surround yourself with stuff that's going to prop you up in little ways every single day with what you're trying to do in your whole life.
Right. Oh yeah, because it's, if you don't use it, you lose it. It really is kind of like the gym for, journaling, meditation, all this. It's like the gym for your mind. But yeah, fitness is a massive thing for me. It's been a part of my life for the last 20 years maybe. It definitely is another aspect to it, for sure. Huge.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's so massive. We could do a whole podcast, which we probably should.
We should do a fitness. Yeah, I'm beyond passionate about it. It's a miracle drug. Fitness is literally
I love that.
It seriously is, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're gonna do that. We'll do another episode about. Seriously, I think it's a great idea, especially for musicians, because a lot of times, working out and fitness doesn't really go with the musician lifestyle, out at bars, clubs, drinking. So, yeah.
But look at a lot of the pros. You'll notice that they do make time for fitness even on tour, because it's a massive part.
Oh yeah, look at Kenny, Tim McGraw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's this dude's name? My buddy wrote a bunch of 2 number ones with him. Oh, geez, must be doing something right. Billy Currington.
Yeah.
Who is a great Instagram follow.
I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, he's awesome. All these people are really into fitness. I know that you were kind of short on time, so I want to make sure you get a song in. Okay. You gonna play one for us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. And let us know. I know that you have a new single either just dropped or coming.
Actually, this Friday, which I don't know when this will be up, but September 4th. It's called "Used to This." So I'll give it the acoustic version of that.
Awesome.
Show me, couldn't see that all this time I've been keeping my cards a little too close to my chest. Just getting loose, make a move, see what comes next. I can get used to her eyes, I don't mind that look I can't deny. As the night turns to evening, clothes on my floor. Never wanted anything more than her kiss on my lips. Yeah, I could get used to this. Don't have to wonder why. I ain't gonna break it down or analyze, 'cause I'm willing to try. I'm gonna go with the feeling, just for something to believe in. I'm on my way to falling in. I can get used to her eyes, I don't mind that look I can't deny. As the night turns fading, I can get used to her clothes on my floor. Never wanted anything more than her kiss on my lips. Yeah, I can get used to this. Get used to her eyes, I don't mind that look I can't deny. As the night turns to day, I get used to her clothes on my floor. Never wanted anything more, her kiss on my lips. Yeah, I get used to this. I get used to.
Excellent. So let everyone know where they can find you and check you out.
Yeah, super active on Instagram and Facebook. Chris Moreno Music, Moreno. I do have a website as well, and all my music is on streaming platforms.
And what's your website, Chris Moreno?
Chris Moreno Music.
ChrisMorenomusic.com. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure that number one, make sure you go out and get your free download of the How to Book Gigs ebook that I wrote.
I got mine.
It is at howtobookgigs.com. Make sure you check out Chris at chrismorenomusic.com and be on the lookout for number one for his single and for our upcoming podcast on musicians and fitness.
Yes. Hell yeah.
All right. Chris, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Right.
Good on.